I thought long and hard. Because I have traveled a lot, I wanted to take some education in an emerging economy, because I feel that emerging economies are the next big thing in the business world. So I primarily looked on geography. Then I looked through the business schools in those geographies that were well rated, and took my decision from there. ISB being super high rated was the natural choice for me to apply to, and thankfully I'm here now.
While looking for the right program in terms of management education, I was looking at a good program that gave the right international exposure and was at par with international standards. I was looking at a good learning opportunity, so faculty was important, and what was also important was career opportunities. ISB seemed like a really good fit because it provided a really good education that is at par with international standards while being rooted in local context, because I was clear I want to work in India in future. We have a really good mix of residential and visiting faculty who provide world-class education to us. And lastly, we boast a very strong alumni network, wherein I knew I could leverage upon that network to get on the right career path at the right time.
My requirements from an MBA program were pretty specific. I applied to schools based on their proximity to technology hubs. So, for example, the Seattle area, Bay Area, etc., have predominantly become these sources of innovation and places where a lot of new technology companies are booming. So, a lot of my motivation to join a particular B school was also based around its location, because the network effects of being in a certain area are pretty significant, and they help you build your own network. So that was one of my very early criteria that decided what schools I would apply to. Similarly, we all know the India and China growth story, especially in the field of technology, and considering the rate at which the Indian and the South Asian technology growth story is progressing, it made a lot of sense for me to pursue an MBA program here in Asia as well, of which ISB became one of the top choices, simply because it was so well heeled in all that was happening on the Asia development front. And that is one of the primary motivations why I chose to apply to ISB and how I ended up joining the school.
Initially, I wasn't too sure about what kind of program would suit me best. I was sure that I wanted a program that had a very, very strong focus on healthcare, so I started applying to a number of programs in India and abroad. I actually received admission to a couple of premier programs abroad, but then I picked ISB when I got the admission offer, and I learned that I'd gotten a merit scholarship also. Additionally, wanting to work in India meant that a program in India was best. Also, ISB is a one-year program, so that means that I'm not away from the hospital or away from my industry for too long. So all these components together, and the fact that it is one of the best schools in the world, all of that put together made the choice pretty easy.
The most important criteria for me was that it should be a top B school in India. So I had lived abroad for about 6 to 8 years, and I developed my network there, but I realized that in order to move back to the country, I needed to develop a network here, which my peers had been able to do. And in order to do that, coming to a top school in India was definitely the answer for me.
Two criteria that I had while selecting B school. One was location. I was very focused in developing a career in India, so I was looking for B schools in India. And the second thing being the duration of the MBA program. So a 2-year versus 1-year MBA. I thought a 1-year MBA would work out better because the sooner it gets over, the faster I get back into working.
The main criteria was geographical location. So I knew I wanted to study in the Asia Pacific region. I looked at schools in Hong Kong, Singapore, and also India. The next driver was that I wanted to study at the best institution in that country, and I wanted to do a 1-year program. So filtering down through that, I looked at ISB, and it really stood out to me because it's got great faculty. The job prospects are absolutely fantastic, and the student profile is really diverse.
I wanted to study in India for my MBA. In India, I would rate ISB among the top few. And in my second year of college, when I already had gotten into the Young Leaders program, I had a good 2 years to explore what else I wanted to do. It perfectly fit into my idea of how an MBA should be done. That is, you work for a good 1 or 2 years, maybe even 3, and then go and study.